There's always good quality.
This meeting is being
Cool.
recorded.
So, introducing Jess here, and we'll do a little background, and then Jess, you could also tell them kind of, go back a couple years to how we met, your trajectory, where you were at in business as to where you're at now. But the main topic of Jess's expertise and what we're going to discuss here is hiring, recruitment, systemization, and SOPs, and really construct some stuff you guys can implement and take away and execute right away to get rid of some of the do's and don'ts in those areas, some of the misconceptions and the things people think they need to do. For instance, one in particular that I'm sure we'll talk about a little, Jess, and I saw you created a short live or a reel something recently, just talking about putting SOPs into a system that you don't know if it works. Like, what the hell good is that? You know what I mean? So we're going to dive into some of that and more, but Jess, give an intro, a little background, and whatever you'd like to start with before we kind of dive into what we're going to cover here.
Yeah, of course. So before I became a business owner, I was a recruitment consultant, so that's how I know so much about hiring. I've literally hired hundreds of people, and that's not an exaggeration. We did both blue collar and white collar, so obviously the blue collar increased the number quite a lot. But yeah, did a bit of both, and then stepped into becoming a business owner. I had the agency. I've always done some kind of consulting as well, which I've always enjoyed. But Ray and I met 3 years ago now, or was it 4 years ago? Yeah, about 3 years ago.
It was late 2020, about November 2020, if I'm not mistaken.
And we were basically in the same mastermind, weren't we?
We
had just like a bit of a crap coach, was like the best way to put it. Like, we got assigned, like, you know how in a mastermind you get like assigned like your separate one-to-one coach. Like, we got assigned them, and they were rubbish, like, in the best way to put it. So yeah, we connected through there, and then have kind of always stayed connected since. Ray's always helped me out with stuff, which has always been super useful. And yeah, kind of went into PDOCS. I experienced that, and now yeah, I've got my business partner, and we've got our agency, and then I work with like a handful of people one-to-one, specifically on systemizing and scaling agencies, which I really enjoy as well. So yeah, help a lot around the hiring, systemization, and actually figuring out how does this agency actually scale, because a lot of people get to a certain point and it becomes a bit of a blurry road in front of them.
Totally. Talk a little more about what you and your partner do in your agency and how long that's been running and how much it's grown in a short period of time. Because I know we didn't connect for a handful of months, but we have stayed in contact pretty consistently the last 3 years. You were one of the few, if only, clients I remember I actually bought and sent you a birthday present, even though you're on a different continent.
I can see it now. I still got it.
Awesome. You still have it? That's even, I would have never guessed that, but that's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jess and I have had a real great relationship in terms of like personally, friends, business. I'll still refer people over to her, or I'll ask her a question sometimes if I have to ask something about hiring, recruiting. I don't consider that one of my strengths, and within running a few different companies, I am bringing on new team members and talent. So what she's going to share here is things I ask her, sometimes tips, but some of the things she's going to cover. But yeah, talk a little more about your agency and how that developed and what you do in that business. I think that people would like to hear that.
So we built it and like grew it quite quickly. We grew it based on, we were always very much that if we got hit by a bus tomorrow, everything should be able to be done without us from the very start. Like, anything we built, we built the systems around it, we documented it straight away because that was super important to us. And it really did help us scale quite quickly, kind of into like not just passing 6 figures a year, but 6 figures a month. And then we brought in last year a SaaS side to the agency, which has been really cool. We've used that as kind of a stepping stone into the full service offer, and we have just had an investor with us as well who is creating an SEO AI, which is really cool. So it's gone out to the market about 8 weeks ago, 6-8 weeks ago now, which has been really exciting, and that's getting really good feedback, and looking forward to opening that up further to even more clients. And yeah, it really came down to when we were deciding, right, okay, this is the route we're going to take in the agency, etc. It came down to every single thing we did. Like, me and my business partner have a thing which whenever we have a problem, we go back to the saying, what does this look like if it was easy? And we base everything off that. Because even the biggest problems you've got, there's very simple solutions to them a lot of the time. But sometimes it's a solution that you don't want to have to do, or you're like, oh, that's going to take me loads of time. But you have to go back to, yeah, what would this look like if it were easy? And that has definitely helped us a lot, because sometimes at the beginning we were doing stuff and everything was ending up so like complicated, and it was, well, this system is, I would say this system's too complicated. And he'd go, well, how is it done in another way? So we'd go, well, what would it look like if it were easy? If it were easy, then it would be done like this. And that has helped us a lot, as well as making sure that we never became a bottleneck. Which, like at certain parts of your agency, you go through that stage where you're like, well, I'm really, really busy here. And I know it's probably another week or two before I can get hired in, or I haven't even started hiring yet, so I'm going to go through this busy spell. But it was really making sure that we weren't busy because too much was relying on us and we weren't able to get out of it. And that helped a lot.
That's interesting. I don't think a lot, looking back on it in my businesses, I don't think we would survive if me and a couple certain team members got hit by a bus tomorrow. I think a lot of businesses, and myself included being guilty, sometimes you grow too fast that you can't really replace yourself, or you haven't built it with enough testing and stability and alternatives, AI, other team members, whatever that is, to kind of forge some of that workload. So that's a really powerful thing to set it up that way. So you're doing the agency and you're also doing some one-on-one coaching and consulting in terms of the recruitment and the hiring side.
Yeah. So specifically with agency owners mainly. And yeah, we'll work one-on-one with a handful of people just so they can get as much access to me as they need. And yeah, we focus on, right, okay, what's the problems you've got at the moment? Let's figure out, they've usually got like kind of big goals they want to get to. Say they're around like 20K a month is usually where they come to me. They go, right, well, I want to scale, but I'm too much in it. I'm either too much in it or I don't know the path on how to grow further. And a lot of people can feel like they're drowning in their business, which is normal. It happens. But it's really getting them out of that, building out the systems that are needed to actually scale the business, helping them with the hiring of the roles they need. But most importantly, building out that actual plan that they need to kind of, or like a roadmap almost, to make sure that they're staying on track to where they actually want to get to. Some people ask 100K a month, perfect. Other people it's 50K a month, wherever they want to get to, as long as they're happy. But it's making sure that no matter where you want to get to, the business shouldn't be reliant on you, because otherwise you haven't built a business, you built a job. Is the best way to put it. Sure. So yeah, I love doing that. It's really enjoyable. And then me and my business partner as well, we will invest into a couple of agencies as well. So we've got a couple of those, which is always really fun to work on. So yeah, just invested in 2 more literally this week. Nice. So yeah, it's exciting.
Nice. Yeah, it's been about 3 years ago, literally this month, since you and I first met, and your kind of evolution and how far you've come since we've known one another. I could say the same for myself, certainly as well.
Yeah, 100%.
It's pretty amazing. Yeah, in both of our cases, right? It's pretty amazing. A lot of the people that were in that program with us aren't still doing this. They gave up. They didn't have success. We both spent 5 figures on that program. And I gotta say, honestly, maybe took away 20% of it that was actually applicable to business. And I figured out my own way. And that's actually how I met Jess and some other people in that program. I figured out a better way than I was being taught for 5 figures. And then some other people saw, oh, Ray, you guys keep closing deals. How are you doing this? But like no one else is. And I started showing Jess some of the stuff I was doing, and it started working for her and other people. And even going back, I think you are still one of my first video testimonials that I ever had. It's super interesting. So how far you've come. But what I want to get into is a couple of questions that I think people will obviously deliver the most value. And the one you probably get a lot, and we discussed this a little the other day. Some of you guys may know this, but every week when I have on a guest, I get with them maybe 48 hours before, and we do a 15-minute kind of prep session for what we want to cover and a quick run through. And I didn't pre-script the questions. I told Jess before this that I was going to make her do them on the spot. And she's like, let's do it, which I love because I prefer that than like, pre-arranged interviews or questions. But I think one thing that everything's wondering as a business owner, they've either thought about hiring and didn't for whatever reason, or they think they're ready to hire and they don't. So what do you tell business owners about timing, when you need to bring somebody in, and what role? I'd love to hear you talk and just your experience with that, because I'm sure that's one of the most prevalent things you get asked when it comes to like hiring and recruiting, whether it's the first employee, the next employee, the right timing, the right role, things like that.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of people, you either see kind of like, people will either hire too soon and it puts a massive strain on their cash flow. It wasn't actually needed, that hire. It was just because of the business owner didn't want to do it anymore. Or people hire way too late and they're like, it's frantic hiring then. And it's really finding kind of that happy medium. And the best way to look at it is, first of all, before you hire, you need to know who you need to hire. Because too many people will say, well, I need these tasks done. And sometimes those tasks need to be done by different team members. And it doesn't just take one hire to do that. So you have to kind of determine what's the most important to establish, right, this is the hire that I need to make first. Because sometimes you just can't make two hires at the same time, and that's fine. And it really comes down to establishing, right, okay, what are the things I would always recommend hiring for first are the tasks that are just super easy to delegate, and they're basically repetition. It's the same thing over and over again, very simple tasks, etc.
So the things you do redundant as a business owner, you're kind of redundant tasks.
Yeah, pretty much. And as well as like a big one that people hire first as well, which I don't always recommend, is things like appointment setters, etc. Please don't hire an appointment setter if you don't have the process proven first. Please don't. Or fulfillment. But it really comes down to, don't make that hire if you haven't got the system proven first. If you're still winging it, please get that dialed in and document it so they know what they're doing, because you can't expect someone to come into your business and try and fix it when you're just hiring someone to take over a role. And it really comes down to looking at your position right now and saying, well, the time that I'm spending, say, on fulfillment for clients, let's say you're an agency and you're running Facebook ads for them, say the time you're spending in your ads manager actually managing the ads for them, if you were to be able to save some of that time and you were just to then handle the account management, could that time you were spending on the fulfillment be spent on activities which are going to grow the business, but really on the business development side? Because a lot of people will hire just to give themselves free time at the very start. But that's where, when you make that hire, you can't kind of take your foot off the pedal. Like, you have to keep on going and you have to focus on that growth, because when you kind of let off and you're like, right, I've got a bit of free time right now, yes, that's brilliant, you've got a bit more time back, but you have to push for that growth, because otherwise you're not going to have enough clients to make the next hire. And if clients start to fall off, are you going to have to then get rid of that hire because you haven't got the cash flow to keep them? So there's a lot to take into consideration when you're making that hire. But yeah, the biggest things are, don't make a hire just because you can't be bothered to do the task when it's not documented or you can't figure it out yourself. And the second thing is, when you can tell you're getting to that point of like you're going to be frantic crazy, try to hire a couple of steps before that. Start to forecast as much as you can in your agency, so you can predict in 3 hires time, or in 3 clients time, I need this hire. Like, because when you can get those numbers dialed in, I know for us, we can say, right, okay, in 11 clients time, we need another account manager. Like, we know the numbers that well that we know exactly when that next hire needs to be made. So we can say, right, okay, well, we're 6 clients into this, I need to put the job advert out now because these 5 clients are coming quicker than I thought. So if you can forecast, that helps a lot with hiring.
Good point. And I think you made a great point in there. If you haven't already done it yourself, like, how can you set expectations on a hire or an employee for something that you haven't already succeeded on or achieved yourself?
Exactly.
And you see that that's probably goes back to, from my experience, goes exactly back to your point about hiring appointment setters too early.
And it really comes down to, you're hiring this person to do a job. You're not hiring them to solve a problem of yours. If you've got a problem like that, hire someone to come into your business and help you solve it. Don't make a hire to take over a process that's broken, because you're just going to get annoyed at each other. You're going to get annoyed at them because they're not getting you results. They're going to be annoyed at you because you haven't actually given them something that works. And then you're going to wonder why you're churning through employees just as quick as you're churning through clients.
Turns into a lose-lose scenario instead of a win-win.
Exactly.
Now, the other thing with hiring I've heard a lot, and you've probably seen it a lot, is business owners tend to hire badly. Why do you think that is, and what can people avoid so they're not making that mistake?
They don't have a hiring process. They've never done it before. I get it. You've never hired someone before. You don't have a dialed in process. And it really starts literally from the beginning of determining, who do you actually need? Loads of people will say, I made the wrong hire, or this person was rubbish, but you've hired someone for a job which they don't actually do, and you're expecting them to take on all these other tasks. You have to be really clear on who do I actually need? What tasks are they doing? What job role is this? That's really where it stems from. And then into the interview process. Do you actually have an interview process? Do you have the same questions which you ask everyone? Do you not only look at their skill set, but do you look at their kind of cultural fit to come into your agency? Are they going to work well with you? Are they someone which, if you're quite a fun person, is this quite a fun person? You can enjoy working with them. Is the team, if you've already got a team, is the team going to enjoy working with them? And another one is people will be lazy with references. They don't go and check them. Believe it or not, we do actually check references and you need to check them. And again, you have to have a process when you're checking references. You need to know the questions that you're asking their previous employers to make sure that you can kind of make a process which you can compare everyone in an equal manner, because you know you've asked them all the same questions, you've asked their references the same questions, and then you can actually make that comparison.
That's some great points. So for people without an interview process, it's going to be different for everybody. But what would you recommend is a simple process to start out with when you're first hired to, but as you're making a process, or maybe you're making one, maybe you're recommending to make one prior to even having your first hire. What would that look like for somebody?
So when you're going into that interview process, you first of all have to know what you're looking for. What is it that you're looking for out of someone? What's the skills that you want? You can't be vague on it. You have to be really clear. You have to know what the expectations of this person is, etc. And I would always start with, first of all, you have to look at their resume, their CV, etc., and get that through and make sure that you're happy with that. Do a kind of a thorough look through it. And then go through like different interview rounds, I would recommend. And this doesn't mean the process is going to suddenly take you weeks, but you start off with a quick 10-minute phone call to get to know them. Is this someone, like, can they commit to turning up to that 15-minute phone call? That's always a big one. If they can't commit to turning up to that 15-minute phone call or 10-minute phone call, you've got a problem. Then you go into your interview based on kind of looking for their skills and their cultural fit, finding out, right, okay, well, from your previous job, what was it that you enjoyed? What did you not enjoy? What would you say from your previous role? What could they have done better to make you succeed even more? Asking those types of questions to know, right, okay, what can I do best to support this person if I was to hire them? Because if they can tell you, right, okay, I'm in my previous role, I didn't get enough support from my manager. Perfect. Well, I know that I need to be checking in with this person. I know that I need to offer them the training, that they don't feel like they have to come back and ask me loads of questions, but I need to show that I am there for questions that they've got. And then, yeah, going into, are they going to fit in with your company culture? Are they someone, like, if you're a really fun person, you get on a call and they are dead serious, like there's, like, you try to make a little joke with them and it just doesn't go down well, is that the person that's going to work best with you? Probably not. And it's making sure that they do fit in with you, because at the end of the day, you're going to be spending a lot of time with them. It's not just 5 minutes every couple of weeks. Like, they are working with you. They're next to you. They're the people that you have to feel like you can rely on to take over things which are your business is depending on them.
No,
and then,
I couldn't. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say, the last, if you can offer some sort of paid task for them to do, I would always recommend it. Some people like don't pay them, some people will, but I always recommend, like, can you give them a small task to complete? You can pay them for their time, you don't have to, but really see how they come back from that task. What's the way that, how did they work through it? What was their process? What was their thinking process behind it? Were you happy with how they came back and the results that they gave you from it? Because it's generally a lot cheaper than putting a bad hire in. And it's something which, if you did that with 3 people, you could really see whose work you like best.
No, those are some great points. I mean, the biggest takeaway from the first part of your reply there is, like, what I think of a business owner is when you're putting out an advert or an inquiry, or where you are getting to that point, look at your position as an offer. The way us as business owners craft irresistible offers, right? That's also how your role in your position and your compensation and your culture and your training and things that we haven't even touched on yet should be set up. Like you should have the most attractive offer if you want to acquire top tier talent
Yeah.
in said industry, right? So I think that's something that gets overlooked by business owners. They work all the time on these offers they bring to market, but they don't really package themselves up as their own offer to the market when they're bringing in, talent and employees. Would you agree?
100%. And you also have to remember that you're also selling your business to this potential employee. They have to want to work with you. It's not just they're selling themselves to you. You also have to sell your business, your values, what makes someone choose to work for you rather than someone else. And a lot of people forget that. It's not all you're taking from them. You have to give as well.
Yeah, and that goes into what you were talking about. There's also going to be, you're going to spend a decent amount of time with this person. So that's where I think what you talked about with the culture and the values and the personality similarities being a big difference that a lot of people overlook. They just hire based on professional accolades, requirements, past history, but they don't always, bring into, like you said, the culture and the values and the personality. You're going to be spending a lot of time with them. In addition to that, you have to have a certain amount of trust in that person, and that relationship has to grow over time. They have to trust you as a business owner. You never screw with people's money. You're always paying them on your terms, right? Offer competitive compensation, bonuses, fun little giveaways. My top rep, I send a purse at the end of whatever it is, right? Just little things to make it a better company and better culture, and for them to have fun and see the ability to win. Like, hey, my business owner actually cares. They'll give away this extra gift if they know that I worked hard for them, right? And it goes both ways. Then you're going to have somebody that shows up on time, shows up early, stays late, works on extra things that are maybe outside of their skill set because they want to and not because you're throwing it on their plate, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. I think that's a great point as well. Another thing what we talked about, and I'd like you to talk about it because I saw your video on this, but and some of your people that you've either brought up or invited to this or that are watching may know, but a lot of my PDOCS audience that'll be watching in the Facebook group either now live, if you are, say something guys, #live, or on the replay later. I think they want to hear more about like the kind of myth about just building SOPs and what they need to be successful. I'd love to hear you talk for a couple minutes on that.
Yeah, so this is something that people do very wrong because they think I just need to put exactly what I'm doing right now into a document. I've got an SOP then, perfect. I'm going to hand this over to someone. That's not quite how it works, because if you're putting a broken system or a system that doesn't scale into an SOP and then you're handing it over, it's not going to work and your business isn't going to scale with that. So it really comes down to when you're building your SOPs, that is the perfect opportunity to notice, right, okay, I am way too involved here. This here I've got to change. And it gives you that really looking at it in black and white, right? These are the things that I need to change to make my business scale. But you can't put just what you're doing right now into an SOP and expect it, because it's written down, for it to suddenly work. So you have to look at it, and every single step of that, you have to say, is this scalable? If there is part in that, if there is a part in that SOP which you are involved in, why are you involved in that step? Do you actually need to be involved in that step? Is there a way you could automate it? Is there a way which the person who is going to be following this SOP, can they do it? Because just think, if you really started to grow really quickly and this SOP was what you've got, how many times could you actually do that one step over and over again with everything else that you're doing in the business? Because the likelihood is if you're involved in that system, you're probably involved in a lot more. And of course you are going to be at the very start of your business. You are your business at the start. But you have to think about it from the bigger picture then of, right, every single thing in this SOP needs to be able to be done without me. And something that a lot of people forget to add in their SOPs as well is you need to have as much detail as possible. Like down to, is there a software they need to log into? Are the login details in that SOP just in case? Is there links to other things that they need to access? Is that in that SOP that they can just click on it? That SOP, someone shouldn't need to go look in 5 different places for other things to go alongside it. For them to be able to do that system, they should be able to follow that document. I also always recommend you including a video, because that's always really easy for people to follow along to. But it's really just making sure that system that you've written down, is it actually scalable now? Is it something that can be replicated? Is it something that I can hand this over? Because when you create your SOPs, you should give it to someone else. You could hand it to a family member if you haven't got another team member and say, right, okay, if I gave you this, what questions would you have? What would you not be able to do without my input? And if they flag loads of steps, right, you need to go back and rewrite it. You need to change those steps, because it's all good you looking at it and saying, yep, this should work, until someone else looks at it that's not you, because you get tunnel vision. You're not going to know if that SOP is actually going to serve its purpose.
Those are all really great points. Those are all really great points. And sorry if you hear my dog in the background, somebody's walking outside. But no, those are excellent points. What I was thinking of when you said that is I build out a lot of SOPs for multiple businesses internally, and I'm always building them kind of after the fact. Like I'll do it over again. Once I notice that I'm repeating a step multiple times and it's repeatable and scalable, then I'll kind of build it into the SOP. I think what you said there of having a video tutorial to go with it and show people exactly how to implement also is another step to take yourself out. But the one thing I would add to that, and you would probably agree, is constantly be updating, because logins change, right? Software's change, user interfaces change, right? All those things. So I think that's another thing is people send somebody an SOP from 6 months ago when now the software that they're logging into has a different user interface or a different login, and they're screwed right from the get-go.
You have to be updating them super often. And what we always do is when a team member comes in and they're kind of in charge of certain systems, they then also get put in charge of that SOP. Your responsibility is also to keep that up to date. We've got managers that will come in and oversee it and make sure that everyone is keeping them up to date. But if something changes in your process, it is your responsibility to update that. Because quite frankly, as an owner, you don't know, as you scale and build a larger team, you don't know every single step that happens anymore. You should be able to go into the SOP and see how it happens, but you need to be able to rely on your team that they're keeping those updated, because if that team member left and you needed to put someone else in to do their exact role, can we see how it was done? If you can't, you've got a problem.
Yep. Yeah, then you're back at the drawing board all over again. Totally. One more thing I'd like you to talk about before we talk about maybe some bonuses and goodies you have for anybody that's watching live or on the replay. They can comment and we'll get those over to them. We'll talk about that. But one more thing that we discussed the other day, and I think gets a little overlooked, is talk to me a little about what a business owner should have or can do for ongoing training, onboarding, like that aspect of things once the hire is made. Because I think that's the one thing a lot of people don't talk about when hiring is like the after process.
Yeah. So your hiring process doesn't just stop when they accept the offer. I would always recommend you having kind of a business kind of onboarding pack, and that should have a little bit about the business, a little bit about kind of what's your values, what are the values that you want them to work to as well. Some just simple housekeeping rules, such as like all communication via team members is via Slack. These are the working hours, simple things like that, like a little company guide. And at the end of that, you should be able to have all the links to any trainings that you've created, any SOPs, etc., that they need. And that should all be in one pack that you can send over in kind of their welcome email. You need to see this as you're onboarding a team member, as if you were onboarding a client, and you need to take just as good care of them as you would a client. And with the training, you've got different ways. I would always encourage you to try and film some training for them to watch beforehand, so they can watch stuff before they start. When they start, it's not you just having to show them. But I would also always recommend someone, whether it's you, whether it's someone else in the team, actually working with them for the first couple of days and showing them how things go. Like being there to support this person as much as you can. So you do have to dedicate that time to the person. And you have to kind of do like live run-throughs. You have to be there and say, right, okay, I'm going to do this live run-through. I'm going to go and send you away. You're going to go and do some work for 3 hours. In 3 hours' time, we're going to get on another call. And right, okay, come back to me with any questions you've got. I want to answer as many as I can for you. And I want to go over this. And really, you have to be there to support them as much as you can at the start. And that shouldn't stop. You should be there. Like, you should constantly looking for your employees to improve and be looking to better themselves. And that includes training. And that's right, okay, is there softwares that they use? Have you seen a new training has come out through the software that you could put your employees on? Is there a conference which would be super beneficial to send some of your employees to? Send them to it. It's, yes, it costs money, but it's only going to do better for your business. And you have to make sure that when you bring an employee in, that employee knows who can they go to for help. If they need help, who do they go to? Who do they ask? How do they ask them? And as well as that, it's making sure that you have regular team meetings. Don't just go and get an employee and just kind of say, right, have fun, message me via Slack or message me via WhatsApp when you need something. You need to have regular team meetings with them. And that can be, right, okay, we meet every other day for 30 minutes at 9 a.m. Perfect. And then on a Friday, we have kind of like a big team meeting. We have a roundup. We discuss how the week's gone, what needs to be done next week, what could have gone better this week. But making sure that everything is kind of, you're never losing that communication, essentially. You want to have really strong communication with these people. And you want them to know that they're supported. You want them to know that they've come into a role where they're going to get as much help as they need.
Yeah, I would like to tell business owners, if you're questioning or thinking about anything Jess is saying here, like, think about it. If you were the employee, how would you want the onboarding process to be?
Yeah.
How clear would you want everything to be? And is it meeting those expectations for the people that you're going to be onboarding? And what you just talked about, the meeting, is super important, because clear, constant communication between the team is going to help morale, help people hit expectations, and just make sure everybody's on the same page. Because without constant communication, there's going to be a lot of a lot of guessing. Should I do this? Shouldn't I? I'm not sure, right? Like, just things aren't clear. So that meeting frequency and how often and how many will change depending on the size of the organization, right? If it starts off with you and one other employee, after they're onboarded up to speed, that could be, once a week, once every other week. Once you have more team members or multiple departments, I would go to more frequent meetings, or just more overall meetings, maybe with the different departments. So that all will change as you grow, but that's a great point. Yeah, before we dive in, and we only have one person on the live stream, so JP, in a minute, if you're here and you have any questions, I'm going to ask you to unmute and see if you have anything you want Jess to elaborate on. But right before that, Jess, if you want to talk about any of you said you had a couple bonuses or one or two real useful things that people could implement and get some information out of this, talk a little about that, and then I'll make sure you send me over the link. And if anybody wants that, again, if you're watching live, comment SOP down below now, or if you're watching in the replay, I will see the comments later today, tomorrow, what have you, and I'll make sure I have the link to get it over to you. But talk about what you might have for any of the viewers that would be helpful and valuable. That'd be great. I'm sure they would appreciate it.
Yeah, so one of the best things I think I could give to everyone here would be, I've got a document which basically is on how to hire A players in your business. And it goes through the process of actually hiring kind of top tier employees and not just kind of hiring anyone. And in that, it includes kind of the hiring process that you can use as a guideline, how to identify if people are actually an A player or if they don't quite hit the mark. But in that, it does, I think it's over 10 steps, but of kind of a hiring process which you can follow. I would always encourage you to kind of personalize it slightly to your own business, but it will give you the key steps and the order which you should follow them in, which will be really helpful.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think that would be really valuable, and some people would certainly like that. Definitely.
Yeah, I've done that over.
Cool. JP, I see you in the chat. I'm here. Great call. Thank you. Is there anything that you would like to, okay, I can just read it. I think you have put a question there. Oh, as someone who's been in digital for a long time also as well, this is top tier training, highly accurate. I have no questions. That's awesome.
Oh,
we appreciate the feedback and saying so, JP. I love hearing what we're delivering is top tier training and highly accurate. Also from somebody who's been around for a while, not somebody that just started their business yesterday, because that kind of make a difference. Like, where you hear what information from, has more weight than others. So great.
100%.
Oh, go ahead, Jess. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say 100% to what you were saying.
Any last thing you'd like to add on, a recap, or anything else you want to drop that maybe I didn't ask you or you think would be valuable? I think I kind of covered all the questions we discussed, but if you have anything else, it'd be great.
The biggest things I can say is don't go and start to slow down for December. You can get so much done in December. If you're expecting kind of things with clients to slow down, like your current clients, like you're not expecting to launch new projects, use this time to start building out the systems in your business. You've now got the time. Use the time wisely. Don't just use it to kind of be like, I'll sit back, spend time with your family 100%, but use the time which you would be usually spending on kind of client work, etc. Use that wisely and actually start to get this done, because it's so much better to build out systems when you're not super busy than when you are super busy. And the next thing that I would always encourage people to do, and not many people talk about this, is do time audits on yourself. Because
That's a good
a
one.
lot of people, as they grow and scale, they say, I'm super busy all the time. I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to hire. I don't have time to build out the systems. When you actually break it down and do a time audit, you do actually have the time. And a time audit, it doesn't need to be super complicated. It can be as simple as write down on a piece of paper with 10 to 15 minute intervals, write down all day basically, and write down every 10 to 15 minutes what's the task you're doing. Because I know when I do it sometimes, I'm like, I've got to suddenly write down on a piece of paper, I just scrolled on Facebook for 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, that's fine. Like but that's an honest time audit then. So don't try and make it look pretty. No one else is going to see this. This is just for you. But it can also help them when you're looking at growing and scaling, is from these time audits, you can actually establish how long does each client take me? Because when you know how long each client takes you, you can kind of get better numbers in your head, like I said about forecasting, to know when you need to make those hires, when your time is going to run out. Whereas when it's just kind of estimates, it doesn't work as well. You need to kind of have actual numbers where you say, like, each client takes me 3 hours a week on fulfillment, and every other week I have a 30-minute check-in call with them. And then you say, right, okay, this is how long each client takes me. And then you can start to work on your forecasting to say, right, okay, from this, I know that in 4 clients' time, I need someone to take over this part of the fulfillment because I won't have the time for that. It's also really good to sometimes look at, right, okay, the activities that you do. And if I look at my time audit, how much of that was actually income producing activities? How much of that actually is helping me to grow? Because it is quite scary sometimes when you look at it and you think, right, I've had a super busy day. And everyone has those days, and you feel like you're super busy. But if you look back, have I actually achieved much? No. Well, let's figure out why. Figure out why. Why haven't you? And it's actually something I've got it being built out at the moment, quite like an in-depth time audit tool that I'm going to give to some of my one-to-one clients. And it's to the point where it literally breaks down, right, okay, this how many hours of your work is income producing, this is how many hours of your work can be delegated, and from kind of the time that's being wasted, this is how much income you're losing. So it's going to be really cool, but it's definitely something no one talks about. It people don't talk about doing a time audit on yourself, and I would always recommend it.
Yeah, it's cool. It's fascinating. It ties in a little to what you said earlier as well about, like, once you do hire or delegate or automate certain things, it might put more free time into your business, but you still, as much as Jess is right, like, family life balance is super important. I'm not saying that, but as a business owner of multiple businesses for the last 3 years, every time I hire, I delegate, I automate, I might get more free time, but as a business owner, I don't ever feel like I have free time because there's always something I can be doing. I could be posting more content. I could be writing new ad. Like, there's always something I could be doing. So I think there's a big difference also between the ones who really want it and the ones that just kind of want to, like, teeter about success. Like, they half-ass it, right? Yeah, I put 20 hours a week. So what? You put 20 hours a week. I put that in the last 2 days. Like, who's going to win? You know what I mean? So you still got to want it. There's no escape for putting in the work. But what the great point about the delegation and the automation and the hiring and the outsourcing is it lets you focus on more important tasks, which are leading to what I've just mentioned with revenue generating activities. One of the things I teach to some of my PDOCS clients in a very simple exercise, and it goes hand in hand with what you were talking about with time audits, is just busy versus productive, right? Take a red pen and a green pen and list all the tasks you did today. And very simply, put a red dot next to each one that can't drive in revenue and a green dot next to every revenue generating activity. You're going to find out that out of the 15 things you did today, only 6 of them are really important. The other 9 you could probably push off to tomorrow or delegate or automate. They were never going to bring you revenue. So, like, but once you actually, as a business owner, are cognizant of that and can, comprehend that, and then you can be like, oh shit, I keep doing this every day, but it's never brought me a client or a sale. Like, what's the definition of insane? Keep doing the same thing every day and expecting a different outcome. So you got to optimize that, and by auditing yourself is a great way to do that. So I love what Jess has for you guys. Her document and framework on how to hire A players. Anybody that's thinking of hiring now, next week, next month, hell, next year, this will probably still be valuable. So drop a comment whether you're watching on the replay on Facebook. Just put, either DOC or SOP down below, or if you're watching on YouTube, I might see it there. I'll get back to your comment and make sure I get that over to everybody. And Jess, it was a blast catching up and doing kind of a full session rather than 15 minutes or messaging each other for 2 minutes back and forth in Messenger. So great to catch up.
Yeah.
We appreciate your time, your expertise, and your insights here today.
It was lovely speaking with you all. So yeah, thank you for having me.
So proper. It was lovely speaking with you all. You can tell you're British right there, see?
Yeah, I know. But awesome. Somehow I'm not from London.
Appreciate that. And thanks for saying so, JP. I see you just sent me a DM. Appreciate that. You have a great holiday season as well. And yeah, man, I'm always around. Hit me up if you ever need anything. But thanks for joining and chiming in. We appreciate your feedback. Jess, we'll talk soon. I thank you again, and shoot me over that document just so I can disperse it to the people who are interested. And I'll make sure I have your direct credentials in there so people can contact you as well. If you guys need hiring advice, like Jess said, right, you don't hire somebody to fix a specific problem. That's a consultant. That's what her and I do. If you need help, on hiring, SOP, systemizing, reach out to her. If you need help with organic outreach or data or paid ads, like we do that stuff. But that's what a consultant's for, right? You don't hire an employee to do those things. So great. Again, thanks for your time, and we'll talk soon, I'm sure, Jess.
Yeah.